And joining us right now on the Outsiders podcast with Clint and Noah, we have Jordan Black, ex-Chief. You guys remember him on the line, number 65. Jordan, of course, current member of the Washington Redskins. Jordan, welcome to the show. How you been doing, man? What's been going on?
I've been doing good. Good to be here. What's been going on? Just a little football out here in D.C.
Absolutely, yeah. And let's start there because it appeared that after the 2011 season, you were thinking about retirement. And so you find yourself with the Washington Redskins. You were 270 pounds in the offseason. What made you want to come back, and how did the process get started for you?
Well, I wasn't really 275. I was actually 266 when I got called, and I had no plans whatsoever to play football anymore. I had already told my agent to file my retirement paperwork. I had literally moved on. Everybody that asked me if I was going to play again, I was like, no way. Even if I could, I'm too small at this point. But then Washington called, and I told my agent, I was like, hey, you need to call them and let them know how much I weigh. And then if they still want me, I'll consider going up there. So my agent calls them, and my agent tells them that I'm 275 instead of 266. So I'm on a plane that night for DC. I get up here for the weigh-in, and I step on the scale after drinking probably 3 or 4 pounds of water, and I'm 270 on the dot.
Wow. So from that point, of course, you wound up making the roster and are a current Washington Redskin. And I just talk about how it's been playing right now in D.C., of course, playing with RG3, that excitement. And you guys are off to a pretty good start. I think people are really starting to buy into the Redskins.
Yeah, it's good to be playing again. I really did miss it. I was just in a position where I thought that, I'd never be able to do it again. But an opportunity presented itself, and, I'm here, I'm grateful, and, I'm having fun doing it. As far as the team is concerned, I think talent-wise, our potential is, limitless. I think we've got a young team. Our tailback and our quarterback, they're both rookies, so they've got a few things to learn. Don't get me wrong when I say that, though. They're both outstanding players,
Sure.
But we still haven't had a game where we've put two halves of football together. This last game against Tampa Bay, we had a great first half and then performed poorly in the second half. The week before against the Bengals, it was a poor first half and a great second half. So if we can put a full game together, there's no telling. I think we're leading the league right now in points scored, and we're like number 2 in rushing. So, if we can just get two halves of a good football together, there's no telling how far we can go.
Well, now that you're back and playing for the Redskins, do you see that you'll play next year, taking it one day at a time, or think this will be your last year? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. After what happened to me, honestly, anything can happen, but as far as it goes in my mind, every year that I play it's a bonus. I'll be 33 in January, so my clock is ticking.
Well, of course, and your career started here in Kansas City, where we're located, and we enjoyed watching you as the Chiefs, of course, with that great offensive line in the mid-2000s. Just talk about your time here, coming out of Notre Dame. You were picked in the 5th round by Kansas City. Just talk about kind of your draft day experience and what your memories were of Kansas City.
Well, it was an honor and to play for the Chiefs and to be a part of that offensive line. Willie Roaf, Will Shields, Brian Waters, Casey Wiegman, all Pro Bowlers, and honestly, three of them are potential Hall of Fame caliber players. That was just a great situation for me to learn from those guys, learn the game of football. With that said, though, there was kind of a negative, because if you ever had to go in and replace one of those guys, it's kind of, for me personally, there's not many Willie Roasts to ever play football. So, those are big shoes to step into, I guess.
We've heard stories talking to former players that Willie Roaf complained about being injured all the time, but then when Sunday hit, he'd be on the field engulfing other defensive linemen.
Willie I mean, he literally could not walk, and then it was game time, and he was running like a deer. I mean, it was unbelievable to see a man his size run the way he did.
Well, and as I recall, in 2005, I believe, is when you saw your most time starting lots of games, actually for an injured Willie Roaf. To talk about that, your time, getting to start, and actually, was that the fact you're able to start? Were you able to, kind of get in sync with the other linemen and feel like you were a real part of the unit at that point?
Well, yeah, 2005, I was actually starting on the right side,
Yep.
and Willie got hurt. Willie got hurt the first game. We were playing the Jets, and he got hurt right about halftime. So coming out after halftime, I had to move from the right to the left. So I played left tackle that second half, and that's when I technically came in for Willie.
Can you talk about that 2006 playoff game at Indianapolis and not being able to get in sync offensively and not getting a first down till I believe somewhere in the third quarter?
Man, that was a long time ago. Yeah, I don't know what it is about Indianapolis. Like, during the regular season, I mean, they were giving up rushing. I mean, people were just running like crazy all over them. And then when it came time for the playoffs, they'd put some ridiculous defensive game plan together that would work. I experienced that in Jacksonville. I mean, not in the playoffs, but it was a late game, and the division, a chance for us or the Colts to go to the playoffs, and we were thinking we were going to run all over them, and they just put something together that went real well. But they just had a way of doing it. I mean, obviously they had two great defensive ends in Dwight Green and Robert Mathis. But I mean, they just had a better plan than we did.
That happens, absolutely. It's the NFL, and that's the crazy part. That's what we all love, actually, when it comes down to it. But, of course, you play with a dynamic quarterback right now in RG3. But back in Kansas City, you play with Trent Green. Talk about him because, every story we hear is that Trent was a great down-to-earth guy. And you know what? He put up a lot of numbers here in Kansas City as well.
Yeah, I mean, Trent, to me, was the epitome of an NFL quarterback. I mean, he was kind of the general of the team. I mean, it was him that made everything work. But I mean, I just remember that offense. It was fascinating just to watch us on game day. I mean, we would usually, there'd be days we'd run for 200 yards and throw for 300. I mean, it was just what Al Saunders and Vermeil did with that. Those guys was unbelievable.
Can you talk about the running game, just how the Chiefs really focused on that with Priest Holmes, Tony Richardson, yourself, the offensive line, Will Shields, Willie Roaf?
Well, first of all, the players that we had a threat at tight end. We had threats at the running back, and then obviously Trent could throw the ball. Had some pretty good receivers, and Eddie Kinnison. So just our personnel kind of allowed us to spread the ball around. But Al would always come into meetings when he would give us the game plan, and he would talk about how he wanted to attack the defense. And he would talk about cutting the defense, stretching the defense, really using up all the field, attack them from all angles, and just really tire them out early. And pretty much every game would work out that way. It just wore them out early.
Absolutely. We've heard a lot of stuff very similar to that. And fast forwarding to now, of course, you guys are 2-2 coming into this next week. I want to ask you, before we let you go, of course, about this game against the Atlanta Falcons coming up. Atlanta's 4-0. They've looked really good, maybe one of the top team or two in the NFL. Just talk about what your guys' game plan is going to be against them, and it's time to turn RG3 loose and just let her fly in that game.
Well, if you watch any of our games, if you watched any of Shanahan's teams over the years, I think everybody knows what we're going to do. Things change a little bit when you have a dynamic quarterback. There's some freelance stuff that he can do to help you out. But for the most part, we're gonna run the zone. We're gonna
can you talk to us about this running back that's really come out of nowhere seemingly and had a great start to the season, Alfred Morris, who many people probably don't know. Can you give us a little insight about him?
He never gets tackled by the first guy, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I mean, he just has an uncanny ability of shrugging off arm tackles. There will never be one guy to take him down. Just great balance and great awareness.
You also play with a guy who just will not age. He refuses to age, London Fletcher. Can you tell us about him?
Yeah, my hat's off to the guy. He can still run. He still practices harder than anybody else on defense. He's just one of those unique individuals that, a lot like Tony Gonzalez. He's been playing forever.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Well, I'll tell you what, Jordan, we're about out of time. We know we appreciate you taking your time. We got you're a busy schedule. Heck, you're an active NFL player. So we're going to be watching the rest of the year for the Washington Redskins and yourself. Thanks so much for joining us today, and good luck the rest of the season, my man.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Hail to the Redskins.
Appreciate it.